Welcome to Whisper May, a place where stories heal your heart. Here, every story is told from the first-person perspective, the voices that were silenced, the secrets that were hidden, the heartbreak that almost broke us. I'm Whisper May, and I share real-life tales of love, betrayal, family drama, and life-changing secrets. Stories that will make you cry, make you gasp, and sometimes even make you laugh through the pain. Imagine discovering a betrayal so deep it shakes the foundation of your life, or a secret so shocking it changes everything you thought you knew about the people closest to you. These are the stories I tell, slow, cinematic, and emotional. Stories where the pain is real, but so is the redemption, where every heartbreak comes with a lesson and every betrayal leads to growth. Whether it's family secrets, infidelity, revenge, or the quiet strength it takes to walk away, you'll find it here. So if you're ready to feel, to reflect, and to witness lives transformed by the choices we make, you've come to the right place. Subscribe to Whisper May. Listen closely, lean in, and let these stories remind you that even in the darkest moments, there is hope, there is healing, and there is truth waiting to be heard. Rebecca Harrington had always prided herself on her marriage to Professor Edmund Harrington. For 40 years, they lived in a charming brownstone in Boston's historic Beacon Hill neighborhood, surrounded by cobblestone streets and gas lamps that flickered like memories from another era. Edmund, a renowned literature professor at Harvard, was the epitome of intellectual charm. Tall, with silver hair that curled at the temples, and a voice that could make Shakespeare sound like casual conversation. Rebecca, a former librarian turned homemaker, adored him. Their life was a tapestry of academic dinners, quiet evenings by the fireplace, and what she believed was unwavering mutual respect. One of the things Rebecca admired most about Edmund was his generosity. Every month, without fail, he would sit at his mahogany desk in the study, writing checks to various charities. "It's our duty to give back, my dear," he'd say, his pen scratching across the paper with deliberate strokes. She'd watch from the doorway, her heart swelling with pride. The donations went to causes close to his heart: literacy programs for underprivileged children, historical preservation societies, and even animal shelters. Over the years, she estimated he'd given away tens of thousands, perhaps more. It was part of what made him so admirable, so beloved by colleagues and students alike. Their two children, Clara and Thomas, had grown up idolizing their father. Clara, now a lawyer in Philadelphia, and Thomas, a doctor in Chicago, often spoke of Edmund's philanthropy as a family legacy. "Dad taught us the value of kindness," Clara would say during holiday gatherings. The grandchildren, Clara's twins Sophie and Max, and Thomas's daughter Lily, adored their Papa Ed, who regaled them with stories from far-off lands from his books. But Alzheimer's crept in like a thief in the night. It started subtly, forgetting names, misplaced keys. Then it escalated, wandering the streets at odd hours, confusing Rebecca for her long-deceased mother. She cared for him tirelessly, converting their guest room into a makeshift hospital suite. She hired nurses, attended support groups, and clung to the fragments of the man she loved. His final years were a blur of doctor's appointments and heartbreaking moments of lucidity, where he'd grasp her hand and whisper, "I love you, Becca. Always have." He passed away on a crisp autumn morning in 2023, at the age of 78. The funeral at Trinity Church was packed with Harvard faculty, former students, and community leaders. Eulogies praised his scholarly contributions and his charitable spirit. Rebecca, dressed in a simple black wool dress, stood stoically as tears streamed down her face. "He was my everything," she told the crowd in a trembling voice. In the weeks that followed, grief enveloped her like Boston's winter fog. The house felt empty, echoing with memories. Clara and Thomas flew in to help sort through his things. They packed up his study, shelves of leather-bound books, yellowed lecture notes, and a filing cabinet of financial records. "Mom, we should go through the bank statements," Thomas suggested one evening over tea. "Dad handled everything, but now it's time for you to take the reins." Rebecca nodded absently. Edmund had always managed the finances. "Let me worry about the numbers, darling," he'd say with a wink. She trusted him implicitly. Why wouldn't she? Their bills were paid on time, their historic home maintained impeccably, and they lived comfortably on his pension and her small inheritance from her parents. The first red flag came in a plain white envelope from the bank, addressed to Mrs. Rebecca Harrington. It was a notice about an overdue payment on a home equity loan. Rebecca stared at it, confused. "We don't have a loan," she muttered, dialing the bank. The customer service representative was polite but firm. "Ma'am, there are 3 refinanced loans totaling $280,000 secured against your property. The signatures are in both your names." Her heart pounded. "I never signed anything." But the scans emailed to her showed otherwise. Her looping signature next to Edmund's precise one. Only it wasn't quite right. The R in Rebecca was too angular, the flourish at the end too exaggerated. Forged. The word hit her like a slap. Panicking, she delved into the filing cabinet. Amid the organized folders labeled taxes, investments, and charities, she found a hidden compartment at the back. Inside was a stack of bank statements she hadn't seen before. The charity donations weren't going to nonprofits at all. Month after month, wire transfers labeled Charity Fund went to an account in New York City. Over 40 years, it added up to hundreds of thousands, far more than she'd imagined. "Who is this?" she whispered, tracing the recipient's name. Elena Vasquez. A quick online search revealed a woman in her 60s living in a modest apartment in Manhattan's Upper East Side. Photos on social media showed an elegant Latina woman with dark hair and a warm smile. But what chilled Rebecca was a faded picture from decades ago. Elena arm in arm with a younger Edmund at what looked like a literary conference. The pieces fell into place like dominoes. The conferences Edmund attended in New York every few months, the late-night calls he dismissed as department business, the way he'd return from trips with a distant look, as if carrying a secret burden. Rebecca confronted her children that night. "Your father had a mistress," she said bluntly, spreading the documents on the kitchen table. Clara's face paled. "Mom, that can't be. Dad wouldn't—" Thomas examined the papers, his medical precision kicking in. "These signatures aren't yours. And these transfers, this apartment in New York was bought in her name, but funded by our home loans." The betrayal sank in slowly, a poison seeping through her veins. Edmund hadn't just cheated. He'd financed his double life with our shared future. Her credit was ruined. Late payments on the loans had tanked her score. The house, her sanctuary, was at risk of foreclosure if she couldn't pay. Clara and Thomas rallied at first. "We'll fight this," Thomas vowed, but as details emerged, fractures appeared. The grandchildren, especially Sophie and Max, who were teenagers, stumbled upon Elena's online presence. "She seems nice," Sophie said innocently. "Maybe Papa was lonely." Rebecca's jaw dropped. Lonely? In their marriage? Worse, Elena reached out via a lawyer, claiming Edmund had promised her the apartment and ongoing support. "He loved me too," a handwritten note from her read. The audacity fueled Rebecca's rage. Her grandchildren, influenced by social media narratives of complicated love, began siding with Elena. "Gran, people make mistakes," Max texted. "Don't drag this out." But Rebecca couldn't let it go. This wasn't just an affair. It was financial abuse, identity theft. She hired a lawyer, Miriam Goldstein, a sharp family law expert in Boston. "We'll take this to small claims court first," Miriam advised. "Prove the forgeries, challenge the debts." As preparations began, Rebecca started a blog anonymously. Widow's Reckoning.
She poured out her story in raw, eloquent posts, drawing on her librarian's love for words. For 40 years, I admired a mirage. The blog went viral overnight, shared in widow support groups and feminist forums. Comments flooded in. "You're not alone. Fight back." Yet the pain was relentless. Sleepless nights haunted by memories of Edmund's smile, now tainted. Family dinners turned tense, with Clara defending her children's open-mindedness. Rebecca felt isolated in her own home, the weight of 40 years crushing her. But amid the chaos, a spark ignited. At a local bookstore event, she met other widows sharing similar tales. "Let's start a book club," one of them suggested. "For women like us, healing through stories." Rebecca agreed, naming it Pages of Betrayal. Their first meeting in a cozy Cambridge cafe discussed The Great Gatsby. Fitting with
The small claims court in Suffolk County was a far cry from the dramatic courtrooms Rebecca had read about in novels. It was a bland, fluorescent-lit room with scuffed linoleum floors and rows of uncomfortable plastic chairs. On a rainy April morning in 2024, Rebecca arrived early, her navy suit pressed, clutching a folder of evidence. Miriam sat beside her, exuding calm confidence. Across the aisle, Elena Vazquez appeared composed in a tailored blazer, her lawyer a slick young man from a Manhattan firm. The magistrate, Judge Harlan Thorpe, a no-nonsense veteran with a bushy mustache, called the case. Harrington versus Vazquez. Rebecca's heart raced as Miriam presented the opening statement. "Your Honor, this is a clear case of fraud and identity theft. The late Professor Harrington forged my client's signature on loans totaling $280,000, using the funds to support an extramarital affair and purchase property for the defendant." Elena's lawyer countered smoothly. "Professor Harrington acted with full intent to provide for Miss Vasquez, whom he considered family. Mrs. Harrington benefited from the marriage and should share the financial responsibilities." Rebecca took the stand, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I never knew about the loans or the affair. Edmund handled everything. I trusted him." She described discovering the bank statements, the forged signatures verified by a handwriting expert. Those charity donations were payments to her, over $500,000 across 4 decades. Elena's testimony painted a different picture. "Edmund and I met at a conference in 1983. It was love at first sight. He visited monthly, supported me through hardships. The apartment was a gift, bought with his earnings." Tears welled in her eyes. "He said his marriage was loveless, a facade for appearances." Rebecca's blood boiled. Loveless? Their marriage had laughter, shared dreams, family vacations to Cape Cod. But doubts crept in. Had it all been a lie? The judge adjourned for deliberation, promising a ruling in 2 weeks. In the interim, the blog exploded. Widow's Reckoning garnered thousands of followers, with women sharing their own stories of betrayal. One post, "The Cost of Blind Trust," detailed the financial ruined credit preventing her from refinancing the house, collection calls hounding her daily. Media outlets picked it up. A local Boston Globe reporter interviewed her anonymously, turning it into a feature on spousal financial abuse. But the family rift deepened. At a tense Zoom call, Sophie confronted her. "Gran, why are you attacking that woman online? Papa loved her too. You're making us look bad." Max nodded. "It's 2024. People have complicated lives." Lily, Thomas's daughter, stayed neutral but distant. Clara tried mediating. "Mom, they're kids. They don't understand." Thomas, ever practical, focused on logistics. "We need to sell some assets to cover the debts if we lose." Rebecca felt adrift. The book club became her lifeline. Now meeting weekly at a quaint bookstore in Harvard Square, the group grew to 10 women. They dissected novels like Gone Girl and Big Little Lies, drawing parallels to their lives. Fiction helps us process the real horror.
Rebecca said one evening, her voice gaining strength. A member, Sarah, shared her own tale of a husband who hid gambling debts. "You're inspiring us to fight," Sarah told her. The ruling came via email. Partial victory. The judge invalidated the loans due to forgery, lifting the liens on the house. However, Elena kept the apartment as it was titled in her name, and Rebecca was ordered to pay $50,000 in equitable distribution from Edmund's estate. It was a blow. The estate was meager after debts, but better than losing everything. Emboldened, Rebecca revealed her identity on the blog. "I'm Rebecca Harrington, and this is my story." The post went mega viral, shared by influencers and even a national women's magazine. Donations trickled in via a linked fundraiser, helping cover legal fees. But Elena fought back, granting an interview to a New York tabloid. "I was his true love. She ignored him." The backlash was swift. Trolls flooded Rebecca's inbox. "Bitter old woman. Let it go." Her grandchildren unfollowed her on social media. Clara called, furious. "Mom, this is destroying the family. Drop it." Yet support outweighed the hate. The book club formalized into a nonprofit, Widow's Words, Healing Through Literature. They hosted events at libraries across New England, from Providence to Portland. Rebecca spoke at a women's conference in Hartford, her story resonating with hundreds. "Betrayal doesn't define us," she declared. "Our response does." As summer bloomed, Rebecca renovated the study, Edmund's domain, into a writing nook. She began journaling, piecing together forgotten signs, Edmund's secretive phone calls, unexplained absences. One evening, sorting old photos, she found a hidden envelope. Love letters from Elena, dating back to the 80s. "My dearest Ed, our Tuesdays in the city are my escape." Tuesdays. He'd always claimed department meetings. The revelation stung, but it fueled her resolve. She contacted a credit repair service, slowly rebuilding her score. Thomas helped with spreadsheets, tracking every penny. Zoe, a new book club member from Vermont, shared a similar ordeal. "My ex hid assets in a lover's name. I lost my farm." They bonded over tea, planning workshops on financial literacy. "We'll teach others what we learned the hard way," Rebecca said. By fall, the nonprofit secured a small grant from a Boston foundation. They rented space in a community center, expanding to online sessions for widows nationwide. Rebecca's blog evolved into a podcast, Echoes of Deceit, interviewing experts on infidelity and finance. But healing was non-linear. On Edmund's birthday, grief ambushed her. She visited his grave at Mount Auburn Cemetery, laying flowers. "Why, Ed? We had a good life." No answer came, only the rustle of leaves. Her relationship with the grandchildren thawed slowly. Lily visited first, bearing cookies. "I miss Papa, but I see now how he hurt you." Sophie and Max followed, awkward apologies in tow. "We were wrong, Gran." As the year turned, Rebecca stood taller. The betrayal had shattered her world, but from the fragments, she built something enduring: a community, a purpose, a new self. With the court victory behind her, Rebecca focused on mending family ties. Thanksgiving 2024 loomed, the first without Edmund. She invited everyone to the brownstone, determined to bridge the divide. Clara arrived with Sophie and Max, tension etched on their faces. Thomas and Lily flew in from Chicago, bearing wine and cautious optimism. The dinner started warmly. Turkey roasted to perfection, cranberry sauce from a family recipe. But as plates cleared, conversation turned to Elena. "Have you heard from her?" Clara asked tentatively. Rebecca sighed. "Her lawyer sent a final demand for the $50,000. I paid it from Edmund's life insurance. It's done." Sophie fidgeted. "Gran, I followed her on Instagram. She posted about Papa, said he was her soulmate." The table fell silent. Rebecca's fork clattered. "You what?" Max defended his sister. "She's not the villain, Gran. Papa loved both of you. It's like those polyamory stories online." Thomas intervened. Kids, this isn't a trend. Your grandfather committed fraud. Clara shot him a look. Let's not rehash. Mom, maybe forgiveness is key. Rebecca excused herself, retreating to the study. Tears came hot and fast. Forgiveness? For stealing her security, her trust? She opened her laptop, drafting a blog post, "When Family Sides with the Betrayer." The post resonated, but it widened the family chasm. Clara called the next day. "Mom, that was us you described. The kids are hurt. I'm hurt too. They chose her narrative over mine." Weeks passed in strained silence. Rebecca threw herself into the nonprofit. Widow's Words hosted its first major event, a literary festival in Salem, tying into witch hunt themes of persecution and truth. Over 50 attendees discussed books like The Crucible, drawing parallels to gaslighting in marriages. A publisher approached her. "Your blog could be a book, memoir style, with advice sections." The idea thrilled her. She began outlining chapters: the illusion of trust, uncovering the lies, rebuilding from ruin. Writing became therapy, excavating buried emotions. Financially, things improved. With liens lifted, she refinanced the house at a lower rate. Her credit score climbed from 520 to 680 through diligent payments and disputes. Thomas helped set up a budget app, tracking every expense. But Elena lingered like a shadow. A mutual acquaintance revealed more. Edmund had a child with her, a son, now in his 30s, living in Brooklyn. "He looks just like Ed," the friends said. The news gutted Rebecca. A secret family? She hired a private investigator confirming it. Birth records showed Edmund as the father, though not legally acknowledged. The apartment was the son's inheritance now. Confronting her children via group call, Rebecca shared the report. "Your father had a half-brother you never knew." Clara gasped. "This changes everything." Thomas was pragmatic. "Do we reach out?" The grandchildren were intrigued. Sophie messaged the son online. "Hey, we're related?" Javier responded warmly, sharing photos. "Dad spoke of you all fondly." Rebecca felt sidelined. Her family bonding with the other side? It felt like another betrayal. At a book club meeting, she vented. "They're building bridges over my broken trust." Zoe nodded. "Set boundaries. Your healing comes first." Inspired, Rebecca organized a workshop, Navigating Family Dynamics Post-Betrayal. Guest speakers included therapists specializing in infidelity trauma. As winter set in, she traveled to New York for research, visiting literary sites Edmund loved, like the New York Public Library. Ironically, she passed Elena's apartment building. No confrontation, just closure. Back home, a breakthrough. Sophie and Max visited unannounced. "Gran, we messed up. We romanticized it, ignored your pain." Hugs followed tears. "I forgive you, but remember, actions have consequences." The book deal materialized, a modest advance but validation, titled Donations of Deceit. It chronicled her journey. By spring 2025, Widow's Words expanded to chapters in Connecticut and Rhode Island. She spoke at universities, Edmund's old haunts, turning his legacy on its head. Yet, quiet moments brought reflection. Was Edmund a monster or a flawed man? She visited his grave again. "I see you clearly now," she whispered. Forgiveness crept in, not absolution, but release. The book launch for Donations of Deceit was held at the Boston Public Library in June 2025, a fitting venue for a former librarian. Over 100 guests filled the auditorium, book club members, blog followers, even a few Harvard colleagues. Rebecca stood at the podium, elegant in emerald green, reading an excerpt. "In the ruins of betrayal, I found my voice." Applause thundered. A Q&A followed. "How did you rebuild your credit? What advice for a suspicious spouses?" "Demand transparency," she urged. "Love doesn't thrive in secrets." Post-event, Clara pulled her aside. "I'm proud, Mom. Sorry for doubting." Thomas nodded. "The grandkids read your book. They get it now." Javier attended too, introducing himself shyly. "Dad hurt many, but your story honors the truth."
They chatted amicably, no instant family, but civility. The book climbed local bestseller lists, leading to interviews on NPR and podcasts. Rebecca became a reluctant advocate, testifying before a Massachusetts legislative committee on financial abuse laws. Widows' Words boomed. With grants, they hired staff, offering free legal clinics alongside book discussions. A partnership with a national women's shelter provided resources for escape plans. Personally, Rebecca explored New England's trails, hiking the Freedom Trail, reflecting on independence. She dated tentatively, a kind widower from the book club, coffee dates turning to companionship, but scars remained. A collection notice for a forgotten card in her name surfaced, another forgery. Miriam quashed it swiftly. Family holidays improved. At Christmas, the brownstone brimmed with laughter. Sophie gifted a framed quote, "Strength from Stories." By 2026, Rebecca keynoted a national conference in D.C. Her message clear: Betrayal is a chapter, not the book. She reverted to her maiden name, Rebecca Ellis, signing books with flourish. The historic home, once a cage of memories, became a hub for empowerment. In quiet evenings, she wrote sequels, guides for widows. Edmund's portrait hung in the hall, a reminder: from deceit came her greatest truth. As donations of deceit gained traction, Rebecca's life transformed. Invitations poured in. TEDx talks in Providence, workshops in Manhattan. She traveled New England's coast, speaking at lighthouses turned venues, symbolizing guidance through storms. The nonprofit evolved. Widows' Words launched an app, book recommendations, financial tips, anonymous forums. Funding from a major foundation allowed scholarships for legal aid. Family bonds strengthened. Clara co-hosted a Philadelphia chapter. Thomas donated medical expertise for stress workshops. The grandchildren volunteered. Sophie designing the app, Max photographing events. A poignant moment. Javier joined a virtual meeting. My mother's story mirrors yours, deceived too. Bridges built, not over pain, but alongside it. Rebecca's dating blossomed. Henry, the widower, shared her love for literature. They explored Vermont's fall foliage, discussing Austen over cider. Yet, challenges arose. A backlash article in a conservative outlet labeled her vindictive. Trolls resurfaced, but support drowned them out. She expanded the blog to video, Storytime with Rebecca, reading betrayal-themed excerpts. Views soared. Financially secure, she donated to real charities, literacy programs Edmund pretended to support. On their would-be 41st anniversary, she hosted a gala fundraiser. Dressed in sapphire, she toasted, "To new beginnings." The event raised $100,000, funding expansions to the Midwest. Rebecca reflected in her journal, "Edmund's lies birthed my truth. I am whole." By 2027, Rebecca's influence spanned coasts. Widows' Words had chapters in 20 states, partnering with universities for curricula on emotional and financial literacy. Her second book, Pages of Resilience, became a national bestseller, adapted into a documentary. Premiering at Sundance, it featured interviews with members including Zoe and Sarah. Family was her anchor. Holidays at the brownstone included Javier occasionally, a blended tapestry. Henry proposed on a Nantucket beach. "Yes," she said, embracing love anew. At Edmund's grave, she left a copy of her book. "This is what I built from the ashes." Rebecca's legacy? Empowering thousands to rewrite their stories. From one woman's betrayal bloomed a movement of strength, transparency, and healing. In Boston's streets, she walked tall, a testament that from deceit comes unbreakable resolve.